because normally the deputies have a geographic portfolio, but I am only public diplomacy. And I define public diplomacy as the art of communicating a country's values, culture, and policies. And I purposely say communicating because that's a two-way street. It's not just a monologue, it's a dialogue between the two. And it's not just about the policies, it's about the values and it's about the culture. So in my job, the first thing we looked at is how do we hear the conversation in Europe? And so we have put together products so that we have from all of our embassies, about 12 key embassies including Warsaw. What is the conversation? Le Monde says this, ABC says that, Tagesspiegel says the other. From this, we focused on what is our message in response to this. So we have another product where we look at what are the key elements of a message that we need to get out to this audience. And then finally, who is our messenger? Now, traditionally, we think of the messenger as the ambassador. And we learned that our ambassadors and our embassies tended to be print focused and off the record. And that wasn't getting us very far. And we flipped that because where are most people getting their information? Taxis. You're absolutely right. In fact, you've just given me a new idea. We need to be doing a campaign with taxis. Television, internet, and taxis. So we flipped it to be on the record and focusing on television. And from that we learned television is a very difficult medium to do. And to do live television, and we needed skills. So we started media training for our embassies, for ambassadors, and not just for our ambassadors, but also the public affairs officers, the deputy chief of mission, particularly if they have the language skills. The media now is a voracious beast, 24/7, and we have so much that we have to fill. And so to be having everybody out there talking about values, culture, policy becomes very important. Well, another challenge you can imagine is that we're in Washington, D.C., and Europe's over here, and there's a time difference. And so when we wake up in the morning, it's the middle of the afternoon your time. So we have created media hubs, you might be interested to know, not only in Europe, but also in the Middle East, in Dubai, and one in London for the Middle East. And our hub is based in Brussels. And we did this intentionally because we wanted to be tapping into those 1,200 journalists who are accredited to the European Union, but they're interested in trade issues with the United States, NATO, EU, and others. So we now have a hub putting us into the same time zone and also helping us look regionally. I think of public diplomacy as two sides of a coin. One side of the coin is that 24/7 television, internet, media side. The other is the long-term relationship building. And both sides are important. We mainly think about the media side, but the other is just as important. So we have a whole program of sports diplomacy. How do we communicate with people by something we both feel passionately about, sports, or culture, through poets, literature, art, music. We have a new one, green diplomacy, because many countries, environment is very key. As the standard of living increases, people care about their environments. They want a clean park for their children to play in. They don't want graffiti. They want to have clean water. They want to know that they can go to the beaches and not have raw sewage polluting and causing not only environmental damage, but human health problems. So green diplomacy is another area that we're working on. And one of the most important are exchanges. So not only do we have the flagship Fulbright program, but we also have programs like students that I met from Poland on the Ben Franklin Transatlantic Fellowship, where we bring some of the new democracies with some of the mature democracies, mix them with Americans in Wake Forest, Virginia, and they have an absolute blast. We talk about comparative constitution, We look at how to blog, how to identify credible sources on the internet. We take them to Philadelphia, to Williamsburg, Virginia. We have them stay with a host family in the United States. And I was lucky enough to be there for their closing evening with their host families, and it was terrific because they really create a relationship not only with America, but with Europe and young new people. I was also delighted to spend some time with Polish interns who are doing a new program of internships on the Hill, at Congress. And one young man who is doing an internship with Congressman Lugar. And we are trying to do more of that to have a nice relationship between our Congress and your Parliament. So while I'm just finishing these last words, this, if we can put that in, just to give you a little bit of a visual representation of some of the outreach that we're trying to do. We find that it's the bridge building between the people that's the most important. So when we talk about communicating, and let's see, when that comes up, it is, you'll find it, it's the D drive. We find that it's the people-to-people relations that are the most important. And you might have, and it is the Colleen PD Photos Domestic, I believe. I hope. We'll find out. It's that one right there. Oh, I can have control. Wow, so you can okay, it'll take a moment. It's the people-to-people that really count. And when we go to Q&A, I would be interested to hear from you ideas that you have on how we can be building bridges with one another. Public diplomacy, how is it being done in Poland? So many countries now are looking at what they call nation branding. What is the image of their country abroad? Because, there we go. Oh, no, that's this one. Okay. It's already too close. Okay, it's not this one. Yeah. Because so many countries now, that's just closing it down now. Countries are concerned about their image, not just because it seems like the right thing to do, but it has specific ramifications. Where do you want to go as a student? It depends on the image of that country. So here's some of our cultural diplomacy, jazz musicians. This was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, translated into Ukraine, and some regional examples of cultural diplomacy. I can't remember whether I need to click or not. Right. Yeah. So this is our ambassador with Akon to Rockstar. This is in Malta. And this is Belarus. Even though this is a difficult area to do public diplomacy, frankly, through music, we're able to communicate fantastic. And media is able to cover it. People are able to attend. So we find this a wonderful way of reaching out. This was a celebration in Romania of students learning about different states, and they have competition. This is the state of New York that won in Romania, and it's a way of learning about the other country and getting excited about visiting using breakdancing. This is a breakdance group in Italy. And this was in Serbia, teaming up with MTV. Again, how can we reach out to young people to talk about our shared cultural interests? And of course, country music. That's a good part of America. So bringing to Armenia country band. I like this one. The American Indian is very popular. So there's a lot of desire for us to do things on the American Indian. But I love this photo where we have our ambassador with the Queen of England, with a choir, the Archbishop of Canterbury somewhere in there, and the Indians. So a great mixing of cultures. Sports diplomacy is another way of communicating the values and culture and policies of a country. Through sports diplomacy, we want to work on teamsmanship. That's our ambassador in Denmark. And esteem building. And also we use this as a way of teaching English. Some regional examples include, this is our basketball coach from the United States